Well, we're finally into April, and the weather here in southeast Michigan has finally warmed up, which means it's time for the great annual Detroit River Walleye Run. Whether you've been fishing this event your whole life, or this is your first time in this fishery, by the end of this video you'll know how to go out and catch a limit of walleye within just a couple hours, just like I did. Now, I'm not going to discuss on where to launch or where to fish exactly.
It's not horrible,
During the heat of the run, it really is as simple as finding a crowd of boats and fishing among them. I've fished this run for several years, and you can talk to anybody who has experience fishing this run, and they'll tell you the same exact thing. What I will spend most of my time on in this video is discussing the proper baits and techniques to use.
Fish, little fish. It's nothing big. It's decent.
There you go.
First fish of the day.
Now, the first thing you need to think about is what kind of jig head you're going to use. Personally, I like a 1 ounce ball head white jig. A lot of guys like 3/4, or they'll even go all the way down to a 5/8. I like the 1 ounce because it's heavy and I can feel exactly what's going on at the bottom of the water. I like white because whether the water's really dingy or it's clear, that jig head's going to show up naturally and it's going to be bold either way. Now, in terms of plastics, on this day the water was pretty clear, so I just picked something random that I thought would do well. It was kind of purple on the top and it had silver on the bottom with a chartreuse tail, and that was a killer that day. Like I said, we had 3 of us in the boat and we were all using kind of different colors, and my jig just happened to pick up a couple more fish throughout the day, but like I said, the color is not that big of a deal. Now, before we move on, I would like to quickly mention one more essential item, that being the stinger hook. The stinger hook is just designed as a second line of defense on your bait to hook the fish. There are 2 different kinds of stinger hooks. There is this one, which has a rubbery material coated around a loop of line that you poke your hook through and it works its way down like so. And then there is also my personal preference, which is the cinch one. It's designed, it has a loop, and you just put the loop over your hook and then cinch it down, and it stays tight. Alright, so now that all the boring stuff is out of the way, we can move on to the fun stuff, that being the technique in actually catching fish. So once you've made it to that horde of boats in the river, you're going to go ahead and start your drift. Well, if you're new to vertical jigging in river systems, the way that it works is obviously the current is going to take your boat downstream, and the goal is to keep your line going straight down to the bottom with your jig on it. But sometimes, if the wind is blowing upstream, it's going to stop you from going downstream, which means your jig is going to float downstream at a faster rate than your boat. So in this scenario of the wind blowing your boat upstream, you would have to use your trolling motor to propel yourself downstream in order to keep up with the jig. It's a fairly simple concept, but it will take some practice before you get the hang of it. Now that you've started your drift, you can go ahead and drop your jig all the way down to the bottom. As soon as you can see that your spool stops letting off line, reel up the slack and lift up. Now when you let your rod back down, you should be able to feel it bump the bottom. In this case, I'm using a 6-foot medium spinning rod with 10-pound test. And I could imagine just about any rod you could use will have enough sensitivity so that you can feel the bottom, especially when using a 1 ounce jig. Now, your jigging motion could have a bit of flexibility. Some people like to be really snappy and lift the jig up 1.5 feet. Personally, I find that you do not need to lift it that high. I have found that a slow lift and slow let down is the most reliable way to jig, because if the fish are in a lethargic and finicky mood, they'll hit a slow-moving bait like that. But if they're in a more aggressive mood, they'll still hit a bait like that. Now that I've explained all this, I'm just going to go ahead and roll some footage from that day. So you guys can just go ahead, relax, and learn at your own pace.
Fish, little fish, nothing big. It's decent.
There you go.
First fish of the day. Oh yeah, he's easily 16.
Big, tell me how much water you need.
All right, there's the first Detroit River walleye of the day. Oh, there's a decent amount.
Attaboy. I'll get it.
Okay. Nice. There we go, doubled up. He's small.
Dude. Fish flying in the boat right now.
Yeah, that's a nice one though.
My stinger hooked a rip.
Got him? Yeah. Kyle? Don't tell me I'm hitting rocks when I'm hitting fish. It's small, I think. No, it's decent. It'll keep. Get him. Get him. Yeah, baby. Oh. Was I recording or no? Yeah, I was.
All right,
Awesome.
finally. As soon as I pull my line out of the water. 17 there, so 5 in the upper wide line.
On it.
Ew.
Oh, shoot. He is shooting. All right, open it up.
My gosh. That thing's whiter than whole milk.
Dude, you're so weird. There's a fish. I give up, dude. I don't know what that. So I didn't know about that thing until a couple years ago. Like the bananas in the boat is bad luck.
I didn't know until I was literally go.
Fish.
Now you guys are taking off.
Oh. Yep, he's right at 15. Look at that. You see that?
I can't wait to watch that